What's happening? It's the TD Experience NFL podcast. This is episode 4 of the TD Experience NFL podcast. You are tuning in right now on Podomatic.com. I am your host, TD himself, Trey Downey, alongside, as always, my friend up in Baltimore, Maryland, the home of the 0-3 Baltimore Ravens, Cliff Kidwell. Cliff, how are you?
What's going on? I like a little jab in the morning. I like to start off our podcast with a little jab. Okay, you firing shots today, Trey? I'm ready. I'm ready to defend and I'm ready to battle. And we're going to talk some great football today. It is week 3, Trey. Week 4. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, we're going to talk about week 3 and look ahead to week 4. So 3-4, 3-4 defense, something that's not looking too good in Baltimore right now.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I boxed that up, but the reasons being so fact when you guys don't win, when you're used to winning all the time and you're not winning, it's kind of sad over here. I'm not gonna lie. It's actually raining in Baltimore. I lie to you not, Trey. It is raining hard here, and that's the feeling right now.
Trust me, I know the feeling. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in their 40th season, 28 losing seasons. So.
See, I'm not used to that, Trey. I'm not used to this. This is new for me. This is very sad.
But I can help you. I know I have techniques. I know you're on the bandwagon of getting a certain coordinator out in Baltimore. I can back in the Greg Schiano days, who I firmly believe is the worst coach in NFL history. Just a quick story. Went to a Monday Night Raw in Orlando, and me and my brother had third row seats right on the hard camera side. So we were on camera the entire show. Went to Monday Night Raw, brought a Fire Schiano sign. Darren Ravel of ESPN, their business reporter, tweeted it out on Twitter. All the Tampa radio personalities see screen grabs of the Fire Schiano sign. Went viral the next day. Needless to say, at the end of that season, Greg Schiano was let go, so I would like to think that I contributed in some way to the rebuilding of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Hey, you know what's funny? It's like we got to have that first-hand fan experience of actually being executive at one point. It's like the ultimate Madden kind of feel.
Exactly.
Like you were a part of Greg Schiano's firing, and that was a bad year. That was a really bad year. They decided to go to ESPN and talk sports when, buddy, you didn't do. You wrecked that whole franchise.
Anytime that Greg Schiano is on NFL Live, I just choose not to watch it that day. I can't do it. I can't do it. Like he's worse to me. I trust everything less that he says more than even Skip Bayless and Colin Cowherd when they're just spewing nonsense. And Colin Cowherd's number 4 ranked team in his NFL power rankings yesterday was the New York Giants. We'll get to our top 5 NFL power rankings later in the show. But first, we're going to do like we do at the start of every week, and we're going to look back at week 3 and look back at the 2 games that we thought were the most intriguing from the week before. My game wasn't the most exciting game, but has a huge injury implications coming out of that. We'll talk about that one second. But Cliff, the game you picked was the New York Jets against the Philadelphia Eagles. Really a must-win for Philly, and they did get it done.
Right, they did. They finally did get it done, Trey. It wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be. I swear, the Jets' defense just wasn't there. I thought it was going to be a good competitive game, and the Jets just couldn't show up for the most part. What I like the most is that Philly never quits. Ladies and gentlemen, if you actually watched this game, Philly was kind of down pretty much the whole time. They couldn't get it going, but the special teams, everything that Chip has set into that locker room. They were really desperate, and it showed, Trey. They showed that they were determined to win this game, come up with a victory. And Darren Sproles, man, that run, if you can go back on your televisions or your computers, ladies and gentlemen, watch that run back. He breaks like 6 tackles, Trey. Did you happen to see that?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Right up there, top plays of the week, right up there with I don't know if you saw it. Google it on YouTube, everybody. Google Uriah Hall's jumping spinning kick to the face of Gegard Mousasi in the UFC in Japan last weekend. But that's right up there with Darren Sproles and that huge punt return that created a huge spark for the Eagles. I'm still not really sold on what Chip's doing there. I think Sam Bradford as the quarterback is just the wrong decision because of how that offense works in the read option, and the teams can completely just sell out for the running back because every time that Sam Bradford is not going to keep that football. So that's what you have is issue there. And DeMarco Murray, nowhere to be found. I mean, we're going to start seeing him on milk cartons. Ryan Matthews with a very good game last week. The Jets. Let's talk about Brandon Marshall called it the worst play in NFL history.
Oh, the fumble.
His attempted lateral. The Jets just, when you think that they're going to be a possible breakout team and go to 3-0 to start the season against a team that was 0-2 and extremely struggling, the Jets are still the Jets.
Right. And what's funny? They have the butt fumble. They just have a bad luck. If you watch that play, Trey, did you feel like it was like a Randy Moss kind of thing? Because there was a play back in the long days that Randy Moss catches the ball, and the guy's trying to tackle him, and then he sees his wide receiver come up, and he tosses him the ball, and like it goes down one of the greatest plays in history. If you guys see it, watch Randy Moss flea flicker. But did it feel that way? It felt like Brandon Marshall has his own kind of thing. I think he's kind of still big-headed. He has the inside the NFL, and he talks like, how he's recovering from, bipolar or syndrome, and he's like trying to be the pitcher boy of the NFL for that. He just has the simple way, like, this is how I play, and you guys love me because I'm Brandon Marshall. He still has that feeling to me, but it seems like he was just trying to be Randy Moskis when he tried to play for it. It was a horrible play. What was he thinking?
I don't know. I think that he was back in the days of it reminded me of a play back in the CNFFL, the Charles Nassar Flag Football League that we both participated in the offseason, playing football at Leesburg High School, and wanted just to play all those crazy lateral plays. I feel like that was the only thing that he could have been thinking there. The only bright side is after he did it and after the game, he knew how horrible of a decision that was. So hopefully he's not going to be making any of those calls again. But Cliff, I'll ask you this. Do you think that the Eagles are going to be able to take advantage of this win with all of the injuries to Dallas and how the NFC East is in flux? Do you think that this saved the Eagles season and they're going to, actually be able to possibly make a push and get back in the discussion for the NFC East?
Well, to give you an unbiased opinion, because I did pick this team to do well this season, I think with that win was very, very, very pivotal for them because you said it yourself. They're playing against a hurt team in the Cowboys. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but if you actually watch that game, Cowboys pretty much had that game won, but the injury showed and they had no premier hot, like some player they can go to. The running game was spectacular, but they really had no one to throw it to. And honestly, the secondary is not that bad. I believe in Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick is sold. That's why the reason they're 2-1. Ryan Fitzpatrick really had nobody to go to that game. They pretty much shut Brandon Marshall down for the most part. And I feel that game is going to pump them and say, okay, we're here. We finally got a W. We're not going to go a winless season, which everybody thought they was hitting to. They still need to figure out what they're doing with DeMarco Murray. I agree with you 100%. They do not know how to use Sam Bradford in the offense. It's kind of the point they probably should have kept Foles because he's not an option read quarterback. They pretty much know he's not running the ball. I mean, he has 2 broke knees. So
exactly.
There's no way that you can trick someone that way. So, but I will say this: they'll get it together. They'll find a mode. They'll find a balance to do with that offense, and I think Chip will succeed. I think that win was very, very pivotal to their season.
You know, I'm still, like I said, I'm still not sold on this, and I don't even think Chip Kelly is sold on Sam Bradford. If you look back at this offseason, the whole motivation that Chip Kelly had in trading Foles to St. Louis and getting Bradford is that he thought Bradford would be better trade bait to send to the Titans or the Bucks to try and get up to the number 2 pick to get Marcus Mariota. So
well,
I think
they threw everything but the kitchen sink for that pick. I was told from my sources, you know, I have the inside sources, that they turned it down. Philly was really trying to go out there, and honestly, you need that. They needed Mariota in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, even at the last minute after they realized Tennessee wasn't going to deal, they were calling the Bucks when they were on the clock to try and move up to number 1 to get that pick. I know for a fact that before LaShawn McCoy was traded to Buffalo, that Philadelphia offered Tampa Bay LaShawn McCoy, Nick Foles, and 2 first-round draft picks for the number 1 pick, and Tampa turned it down. I still don't see how you did that, but
they believe in Doug Martin.
Hey, Doug Martin has looked good through 3 weeks, and that's probably the most surprising part of that team. But we'll see where Philly goes. I don't think even if they do get into the discussion in this division, which this division could be like the NFC South last year when you're seeing 8-8, 9-7 win the division. Even if they do get to that level, some people possibly pick them to go far into the playoffs. Last year, actually, I picked them to advance to the Super Bowl. They ended up missing the playoffs just outside of the wild card at 10-6. But I don't think they're anywhere close to a contender this season. The Jets, I think that they're improved off of last year, but I still don't think they're a contender as well. I think this was just a matchup where the Eagles really needed to win this game, and they got it done. Their backs were against the wall, but I don't see them contending this season.
Just to let you know, and we've been talking too long on this. We got to move on here. You guys on the show. This is how passionate about football we are. I will say this. Wait for it. The Eagles will try to pick up RG3. And if they get RG3,
I could see it.
Watch him work. Watch him work.
Now we're going to get into the game that I thought was going to be the most intriguing game of the week. It wasn't the most intriguing game on the field. It was delayed, delayed start because the field caught on fire. AstroTurf caught on fire in the Edward Jones Dome after pyrotechnics in the pregame entrance for the St. Louis Rams, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the St. Louis Rams. A 12-9 football game, not a very exciting football game there in St. Louis.
12-6, Trey.
12-6, not 12-9. I'm giving the Rams an extra field goal that they didn't get. But the most interesting thing out of that game is the low hit by Mark Barron on Ben Roethlisberger, and now Big Ben is going to be out for the very least 4 weeks. First, Cliff, what were your thoughts on that game and how the Steelers, who mostly are viewed as an offensive team, were able to pull out a low-scoring game like that against a very tough defense in St. Louis? And what are your thoughts on the Steelers going forward now with Mike Vick as the quarterback for the next couple weeks instead of Big Ben?
Well, Mike Vick said it himself. He doesn't have to do it himself. He doesn't have to do it himself for this team. If you look at his prior teams, like Mike Vick was essentially the star. Besides Philly, he had some star blusters on there. It was essentially the whole entire team. Even when he was in Atlanta, he had Warwick Dunn and I believe Roddy White, who was a fairly young at the time, really didn't emerge. So Vick was by himself with all those teams, and we're not going to talk about the Jets debacle. But he doesn't have to do it by himself. First of all, we're going to talk about how Le'Veon Bell is back. If you pick Le'Veon Bell in your draft fantasy and you were sitting there waiting, he's not my fantasy pick because we knew who he was. That's what he is. Le'Veon Bell had an awesome game, making catches left and right, coming in for this team.
Really not a lot of rushing yards, only 62 yards on the ground, though. But, he was playing a very tough defense in St. Louis.
Defensive line. Oh, yeah. One of the best defensive lines in the league. Michael Vick doesn't have to do it himself. He just has to be that manager. I think he's in his 15th season to where we can say that Michael Vick doesn't have to take over anything, especially with Antonio Brown.
Exactly.
Le'Veon Bell. They have some offensive weapons. Heath Miller, who's a solid receiver. Big Ben is a huge loss. Don't get me wrong. Like this team, Big Ben is number 3 ranking in passer ratings. But this team has that offense that is just going to gel, and I think they'll be fine. Actually, I want to talk about how the fact that, and ladies and gentlemen, I do not like the Steelers whatsoever. I do not like the Steelers whatsoever. But that hit on Ben Roethlisberger wasn't a flag. And Mark Barron had fell, yes, but he got back up a little bit to jump into Ben Roethlisberger's knee. Why wasn't there a penalty call on that? We're supposed to be protecting our players No one protected Ben Roethlisberger on that play. He's out for the next 6 weeks now, Trey. And there was no flag. I feel like the referees have to get a handle down on protecting the quarterback and actually pay attention to the game. It was a horrible play, if you ask, ladies and gentlemen. But hey, this team has offensive weapons. They'll be fine, Trey, in my mind.
I don't think it was necessarily a dirty play because when you look at Barron did fall down and he was just trying to make a tackle still. And that's how, that's just how it happened. He was down on the ground, so he grabbed at the leg. I don't really think it was a dirty play. Mark Barron, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, I never really – he definitely didn't live up to being a top 10 draft pick like he was. But I didn't see him as a dirty player whatsoever. St. Louis, they've fallen off quite a bit from that huge week 1 win at home against Seattle. But Pittsburgh, their defense looked good this week, holding the Rams to 6 points. Le'Veon Bell, just getting back into the game plan. Antonio Brown, again, with over 100 yards receiving. And when you look at the scope of the NFL and you look at backup quarterbacks, I'm not sure if there's a backup quarterback that I would rather have in the NFL right now than Mike Vick. They're not. It's not Dallas where you're starting Brandon Weeden. It's not New Orleans where you're starting Luke McCown. It's not Chicago where you're starting Jimmy Clausen. It's Michael Vick, a guy who has actually had success in the NFL. And when you get teams are going to have to game plan against Michael Vick's legs, no matter what. No matter Michael Vick into his 30s now, mid to late 30s, he is still going to be a guy that you have to account for when it comes to that. And the speed that you have on that offense with Bell, with Brown, Heath Miller, I think that the Steelers are going to be fine. Huge football game Thursday night against the Ravens. And, the Steelers could effectively end the Ravens season in week 4 if Mike Vick plays well and the Ravens go down to 0-4. I think, before the season, I picked Cincinnati to win that division, and I'm still holding true to that because I think Cincinnati has looked better than almost anyone in the first couple of weeks of the NFL season. But, Pittsburgh, they're going to be right there competing with the Kansas Cities, with the Bills, with the Jets for those wild card spots because of just how good that offense is. And if the defense can, put up, if they're not a wet paper towel where you can just run right through them, the Steelers are going to be in every game this season because of those offensive weapons and just get through these couple games before Big Ben comes back.
Trey, you said it yourself. Even though using a big offensive weapon like the Roethlisberger, you kind of potentially put one back on the field because now teams have the game plan for Mike Vick. They always have the game plan for Mike Vick. And with that strong running game, those wide receivers they have, and they honestly, when Martavis Bryant comes back, they just add more weapons, and you still have to watch Michael Vick. So, yeah, I agree with you on that one. Pittsburgh is not out of it yet. Will said that what you want to recall is that they can end the regular season. You never want to mess with a hungry bear. So I'm going to say.
I mean, the same thing was said last week, home against Cincinnati, and we saw what happened there. So,
okay. Let's move on to our most impressive Trey. Trey, it was an interesting week this week. Who did you find the most impressive for this week of football?
You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Not really necessarily because of this last week, but I'm most impressed by the Oakland Raiders.
Oh, I believe someone said that, but okay. Trey, tell us more. We are listening. Ladies and gentlemen, turn up. Trey said the Oakland Raiders, which he's agreed to me last week. So, Trey, why are the Raiders most impressive? Like, I'm really intrigued.
They've actually won 2 football games in a row, and they're 2-1. Beating not the Baltimore. They already beat the Baltimore Ravens. Beating the Cleveland Browns on the road. Going west to east, getting a big win. That's huge for them. Winning a close game. That's huge for them. I think this would have been a different game. Excuse me. This would have been a different game if the Browns would have started Johnny Manziel instead of Josh McCown. I'm not a Josh McCown believer whatsoever. Like I've said before here on this podcast, I think that the ceiling is a little lower with McCown. And the floor is a little higher with McCown, but the ceiling is so much higher with Manziel. The floor might be lower. You could be a lot worse, but then you can always go back.
Manziel has the handle on that team, and even the players were saying, "Why wasn't Manziel starting? He's went to rehab. He's really rehabilitated his whole kind of lifestyle. Why wasn't he starting against this team?
D-
It
Mike
just makes no sense."
Mike Pettin and that whole staff just have something against Johnny and Josh McCown. He's the safe choice, and that's what you went to. And the safe choice is not going to take a team that has missed the playoffs so many years in a row and get them there. You're going to have to take some risks. You traded back up into that first round to get Johnny. You might as well play him because you're not going to be a great team with Josh McCown. I don't care what anyone says or what anyone saw for those 3 weeks a couple years ago in Chicago when he was great. The Bucks took a gamble on him last season, and we all know how that turned out. So I think Manziel is the way to go there. But really, back to the Raiders, Latavius Murray over 100 yards rushing. He's starting to look like he could be, a serviceable back. As last year, that one really long run against the Chargers, everybody was on the Latavius Murray bandwagon. After that, yeah. And, a lot of people were, after the first couple of weeks of this season, he was just okay. And people were starting to think he was a one-run wonder. But this week, over 100 yards rushing. Derek Carr looked great again. And the connection to Amari Cooper is just there. 9 catches, 134 yards for Amari Cooper. And, Carr just has found that connection with these guys, and Derek Carr is taking that next step. Yes, these 2 wins back-to-back against NFC North teams. We'll see how they continue to improve possibly for the Raiders. The Raiders play the Bears this weekend with Jimmy Clausen still at quarterback. So if the Raiders start the season 3-1, I think that's the biggest thing for these young teams who aren't, going to be at the beginning of the season. You're not predicting them to go 12-4, 13-3, something like that. But if they have an easy schedule, this is, contributed to the Bucks when they went 10-6 with Josh Freeman, just missed the playoffs. If you get some of these early wins and you get confidence on that team, you are just going to play better with that confidence because you know that you can win games and you're going to play like you should win the game. And that's what, I think beating the Ravens was huge in this road trip to Cleveland. So the Raiders are my most impressive team from this week. We'll see if they get it going. And it's next week we could talk about the Oakland Raiders being 3-1. Who would have thought it?
Trey, you pretty much took all the airtime on that one, but you said everything I wanted to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you actually know about Derek Carr. He's not David Carr. We need to stop thinking he's his brother because he's better than his brother. I watched him at Fresno State. I do not like Fresno State whatsoever. I don't think that's actually a real football school, but they've actually pushed out some talent in the NFL. He had a wide receiver there, ladies and gentlemen, named Devontae Adams, who's actually catching balls from Aaron Rodgers now. And Devontae is not doing bad. When Derek Carr has a number 1 wide receiver, as in Amari Cooper, he is stellar. He is stellar. It is shown. And by the way, you said it yourself. Everybody just went on that. Well, I think it was an 80-yard run by Murray, and no one was really saying like Trey. Like they were saying like, oh, let's jump on the bandwagon. He's not real because he hasn't really performed. He's actually ranked number 4 in rushing yards. Trey.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know that, but.
I mean, if you look at the rushing yard statistics this year in the NFL,
it's bad.
Like they showed, there was a graphic on ESPN yesterday of the top 10 rushers in the league last year and where they're ranked this year, and it's just crazy where it's fallen. You've got some guys ready to take the next step, and Carlos Hyde and Latavius Murray might be those backs, and Joseph Randle might be those backs that we look at as being the really good backs this year. But, the NFL for some reason is, extremely getting away from the run game unless you're the Dallas Cowboys and you can put me or you in the backfield and we can run for 100 yards with that offensive line.
Exactly. It's a passing league, Trey. It's a passing league. But hands down, I have really nothing to say. You said it all. The Raiders are very impressive. I'm not saying it because they beat the Ravens, but as I was watching that game, the defense is kind of suspect, Trey. But as I was watching that game, Derek Carr has a handle on that offense. Everything's calmed down. I don't know if Jack Del Rio was the difference or maybe a year of experience, but Derek Carr has a handle on that offensive playbook, and he's working it around. And you know what? Go Raiders, go. Hey, welcome back.
Yeah. Now we're going to get on to you. I know you have a surprising most impressive thing of week 3 in the NFL.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, take your seats. You're gonna want when you hear me on this show on the TD Experience. I want you to feel one thing. Yes, he's a homer, but he's unbiased opinion. And what I have to say is that Andy Dalton performed. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a statistic guy. I'm going to throw stats at you. That's what it. Andy Dalton is 8-1. That means he's thrown 8 TDs and 1 interception. He
Exactly.
is he is phenomenal. They went off on my home team. It's raining here. That's how sad it was. We had, ladies and gentlemen, we had that game won. We had that game won. We went up multiple times in the fourth quarter, but we could not stop AJ
Every time
Green.
Andy Dalton
Andy
came
Dalton.
back.
Every time. Andy Dalton, every single time. That game winning drive when he drove down the field was articulate. And I have to say, my most impressive player, Trey, and I've dogged him before. I dogged him when he got the big time contract and hasn't won a playoff game. I dogged him when I watched his accuracy. I dogged him when and just watch him in the pocket. Andy Dalton is my most impressive, ladies and gentlemen. He played lights out. And even if AJ Green, you can sit there and say, oh, AJ Green was in the game. He had no running game. The Ravens knew who they were going to every time. The Ravens knew. We stopped Jamal Hill. We stopped Steven Bernard. We knew who he was going to every time. And just when we thought that they were going to, he threw it to Marvin Jones. Not Marvin
Exactly.
Jones. He just
It's the
pretty.
new,
It's a new.
yeah, it's the new
Yeah.
Marvin Jones, Tyler Eifert,
He,
career highs in passing yards in 383 for
yes.
Andy Dalton and 227 of those yards to AJ Green, who also had a career
Oh,
high in receiving yards.
Trey
So
with the stats. Okay.
so
Uh,
that they're becoming, if they stay like this, they're going to be right there with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and Ben
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown as the best quarterback receiver duo in the NFL. When you have
Trey.
227 yards to one receiver and you both
Yeah.
have career games against a division rival in their home opener in a game that they had to win, that is huge. And Andy Dalton has proven to everybody that he deserved this money. And we're going to get into just a little bit later our power rankings in the NFL, the top 5 teams. And if you don't have Cincinnati in your top 5 teams in the NFL right now, I think you're crazy. Cincinnati looks great to me. Andy Dalton, right now, if you're ranking guys for possible MVP in the league, Aaron Rodgers is going to be up there, but you have to talk about Andy Dalton. You
You have
have
to.
to.
You have to. You have to. Just what he's done right there. Slow it down, Trey. Though this is the Cincinnati Bengals we're talking about. They have a history. Everybody wants to get on Marvin Lewis, which honestly I do think they should fire after 11 seasons and not win the playoff game. But they do well in the regular season, Trey. They do absolutely well in the regular season. They won the AFC North last year. It's if they can finish. Honestly, I'll tell you right now, just give you a little peek of what we have coming up on the show, ladies and gentlemen. They're not in my top 5. However, I will say that they are strong. I agree with Trey. They are a strong team that if you don't have them, usually you're crazy. But I'm that crazy guy not to have them in the pick. But anyway, Bengals, Andy Dalton in the team. Andy Dalton just looks very good. And I am ready to see what he does week by week.
Yeah, we're gonna learn a lot about Cincinnati in the next couple weeks and how they deal with a very strong pass rush this week against home against the Chiefs, next week home against Seattle, and then at Buffalo before the bye week. So 3 tough games and 3 strong pass rushes. Gonna face Justin Houston, Michael Bennett, and all of the guys that are performing up there in Buffalo, Mario Williams, Marcel Darius, those guys. So it's going to be a tough sledding in the next couple of weeks for Andy Dalton. But if he can keep this up, he's got to be up there. Andy Dalton was very impressive, but now we're going to get into the least impressive team of the week. And I just talked a little bit about Buffalo and that pass rush. And the least impressive team that I'm going to get into is the Miami Dolphins. They're not, the least impressive when it comes to me because, I told you so, kind of. There were people, local radio personalities here in Tampa and Orlando picking Miami to take the next step and go into the playoffs. And I even saw one pick of the Miami Dolphins going to the Super Bowl this season with the addition of Ndamukong Suh, Ryan Tannehill taking that next step. But, their home opener, and they just got the doors blown off of them by the Buffalo Bills. Fans were booing, leaving at halftime. Just not a good start to the home schedule. They did get that big win in week 1 against the Washington Redskins on the road. They went on the road and lost in week 2 to Jacksonville. And then week 3, they lose their home opener to a division rival in Buffalo in a game that was very important because when we looked at those two teams, we thought, possibly one was ready to make that next step and, take it to the Patriots and possibly, compete for that division. But the Miami Dolphins are not it. 41-14, one of the worst losses in the history of Sun Life Stadium. Carlos Williams, only 12 carries and over 100 yards for the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo still looks good. Tyrod Taylor, I told you so on that too. But, Miami, things aren't pretty. And, we talked about coaches on the hot seat. I think Joe Philbin is going to be gone after this year in Miami.
Philbin doesn't know what to do there. I've felt that year before. He just doesn't know what he's doing there.
I thought that since he handled the Chad Ochocinco situation a couple years ago down in Miami, I just never thought Philbin was a very good coach. All of that locker room fiasco with Richie Incognito and stuff like that. That's all under Philbin's watch. So, I just don't. Philbin, great offensive coordinator up in Green Bay before he came to Miami, but I just don't think that he has the personality of a guy that can control a locker room and be a great head coach in the NFL.
I'm going to make every Miami Dolphins fan hate me who listens to this show. Are you guys sitting down? You suck. You suck. You suck. When you have a wide receiver throwing your passes, there's a problem there. I know he's converted. He's actually doing pretty well. He's actually doing his thing. When you have a wide receiver throwing your passes, you're not going to do anything. I go to a barbershop, Trey, and barbershop it's pretty much our show. We had that kind of feel here. I go to a barbershop and there's a Dolphins fan there, and we talk football, and I look at him and I'm saying, yeah, but you should have lost to the Redskins. You got one win. Now, they have more wins than us. I give it to them. But if you actually watch this team, Ryan Tannehill, he's definitely developed year to year. I will give him that. He just doesn't grasp it completely yet. He has weapons there into the number 1 wide receiver pick they got. What's his name, Trey? Help me out there.
From Louisville.
Yeah.
Speedster guy. Rashard Matthews had a big game this past weekend, 6 catches for over 100 yards and 2 TDs. But other than that, it just hasn't been great things for Miami so far. Devontae Parker is the guy we're talking about.
Thank you. Louisville. And he's a short hands wide receiver. It's just that I think that the players are not cooperating with Philbin. You need to win, Trey. You have to have that collaboration between the team and the coaches. And with Philbin's philosophy, and I don't know, I'm not in the locker room, it's just that they're not catching, they're not clicking. And when they play these teams, it's coming out as like they don't care if they lose. I watched the game. They're you don't want to think that in the NFL. I'm watching the game, and I can pretty much go into every week saying they don't care. They're just here to play because they have strong divisions like the Patriots and the Bills, like you said, in that division. They're like, you know what? We're just going to have like a lackluster season. Wait till we get them out of here, and then we can start rebuilding our team. I just don't see any fight from the Dolphins. Sorry, Dolphins fans. You can hang me out, but I just don't see there's no win. There's no umph. Every time they play, there's no umph. Even with the win of the Redskins, there's no umph. They should have lost that game, by the way. But I digress.
Yeah, the punt return in the fourth quarter by Jarvis Landry really put them up 17-10, and that was the final score of that game. Ryan Tannehill this past week with an 11.7 QBR, so not very good for Ryan Tannehill.
He's a wide receiver, Trey.
I mean, it is what it is, but Miami is my least impressive. Cliff, who was your least impressive? The least impressive thing that you saw in Week 3?
I don't have a team again. One player that has been least impressive is not probably a shock to you all. It's probably most of our least impressive throughout the league. It's Andrew Luck. I drafted him in the second round, Trey. I had all hopes. Ladies and gentlemen, he is at the bottom of passer ratings. There's only one player that has a worse passer rating than him. You know what that is, ladies and gentlemen? That's Jimmy Clausen. He just started last week. That's saying a lot. I don't know if it's the coaching, Trey. I don't know. By the way, Andre Johnson and Frank Gore have looked like the worst free agent pickups in a long time, and they're
Andre
very
Johnson
good
more
players.
so than Frank Gore.
Right, Frank Gore is definitely picking up.
Yeah.
Frank Gore has definitely picked up. He's actually starting to get new run schemes down, starting to run into the holes, break through there. RJ Johnson is just horrible. There's a reason why Houston cut him. Maybe I'm thinking here. But when you think of a GOAT, you don't put him close to that character. If you think of a short hands catcher, you put RJ Johnson there, and he's been dropping passes. Trey, I don't
Yeah.
know if it goes back to what we said about Philbin. If you don't have that coaching chemistry, they don't care. Now they won, but it was a ugly last minute effort by them winning, and it was against Tennessee. Tennessee, Trey.
Okay, Tennessee, they beat the Bucks 42-14 the first week of the season. And you can say what you want about the Bucks, but if you win a game by 4 touchdowns in the NFL, you're a solid team. And I think that Tennessee is better than people think. Andrew Luck, yes, has thrown a lot of interceptions, but that offensive line has been horrible. That division is horrible. You talk all you want about Andrew Luck, but I still have not through 3 weeks. They started 0-2 last year. I think that we're going to see a lot of surprising things, and I'm going to say it right now. Coming up in a couple weeks, I think next week actually, Sunday Night Football, the rematch of the Deflategate game, the Indianapolis Colts are going to get revenge and beat the New England Patriots.
You know what? I have conflicting interest with this because I did tell them my comeback team, and I said, "Oh, they're going to make a comeback." They're going. We talked about last week. We talked about a little bit last week, as far as that my comeback team. They're going to most improve. After watching bits and pieces of that game, because I didn't have to catch it, because I was dealing with almost a heart attack game in Cincinnati, but in Baltimore. Watching that game, it was just it was a 35-33 win, Trey. Now they were at Tennessee, but I just feel like they don't have that chemistry with the team, Trey. They look horrible. Andrew Luck is looking bad. And his shirt, and he hurt his shoulder. So he's limited in practice. He's my least impressive. It's just looking bad for Andrew Luck right now.
I'll admit he's still 14th in the league when it comes to yards. So not that bad when it's in that thing, but he does lead the league in interceptions at 7, right ahead of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Actually has 5 interceptions, and so does Matthew Stafford. But I still have faith in Andrew Luck and the guys. I picked them to win the Super Bowl at the beginning of the season, and I'm not backing off of that pick. I'm still think that we're going to see in San Francisco. I still think we're going to see Seattle and Indy. But, the Colts are definitely going to have to look better than they have in the first 3 weeks of the season. And the Colts, I know we both think it because of what we said there. They are not going to be in our top 5 teams.
No.
We're gonna look at this not every week, but we're gonna look at this every couple of weeks. We're gonna rank our top 5 teams in the league. We're gonna go back and forth a little bit here for our NFL power rankings. I'll go first with my number 5 team, and that's gonna be the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are my number 5 team. A lot of people are still skeptical about them because of Peyton Manning, but Peyton is still Peyton. He's not going to make mistakes that in the game. The arm strength might not be there, but the thing that I think that is underrated so far about this team is that defense. The defense looks awesome. The rush they're getting on the passer with DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller, the secondary with Talib, that great, trio of linebackers, being able to just make the tackle on every play, getting there. Danny Trevathan, tackling machine for the Denver Broncos. I just think that defense is so good, and they're 3-0. And if you look at some of the other 3-0 teams, teams that, will just be out of my power rankings, like Carolina, like in Atlanta, I just think that defense, when you talk about Denver in the past, when they've been good, it's been the offense that has put them over the hump. This year, it's the defense. The Denver Broncos are my number 5 team in my power rankings. Number 5 for you, Cliff.
You know what's funny? You said it multiple times about the defense, how strong Denver Broncos are. My number 5 pick. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, Cincinnati, sit down. You're not in my top 5. I'm letting you know right now. You're not in my top 5.
You're ridiculous.
At my 5th pick, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills, and I'm going to explain why. Now, they had a bad game in Patriots, but it's the New England Patriots, ladies and gentlemen. I think that they did actually wild that game up and talked way too much about how they were going to win, how they were going to beat them, and it kind of blew up in their face. But let me tell you why. It's because of the defense. Trey said it himself. The defense is stellar. They have stellar secondary. They have a mediocre middle linebacker core, but their defensive line is one of the tops in the league. Mario Williams, Kyle Williams, Hughes. I can't say his first name, but it's so weird. Hudges, I'm sorry. And
His
then you
first name is
have
Jerry.
is it? I thought it was it? Is it Jerry?
Jerry Hughes, yeah.
He's black. His name shouldn't be Jerry. Anyway, and then they have the Lamarcus Darius, who they signed to that defensive line clicking. If that offense, and the offense is not weak, Trey, they have Percy Harvin, Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods, LaShawn McCoy, Clay, who I have no idea why the Dolphins let go, who's actually a monster once he starts performing, and he showed what his little juke play to get into a touchdown. They have the weapons, and then the driving home Trey, Rex Ryan, who wins. He won with the butt fumble. That's all I gotta say, Trey. He won with the butt fumble. So therefore, number 5 power ranking, Buffalo Bills. I got you in there.
I think the Buffalo Bills, I still think they're going to win that division. I'm high on the Buffalo Bills, but when I do these power rankings, I'm just so big on undefeated teams. You're going to notice that every team in my power rankings is 3-0, and I'm going to go now into my number 4 team, and that is the Green Bay Packers. A lot of people might have them up at number 1. Yes, I understand.
What?
They have the best quarterback in football in Aaron Rodgers, but eventually these injuries are going to catch up to them. When you have that injury to Jordy Nelson, Eddie Lacy is banged up, Sam Barrington on the defense. They're a great team at home at Lambeau Field. I want to see them get some of these tough games on the road. They beat Chicago on the road the first week of the season. They beat 2 good teams in Seattle and Kansas City on Monday night at home. But this is a team, I don't think they'll lose at Lambeau all year. They're going to go 8-0 at Lambeau.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But they're going to have to win these road games. If they get home field advantage in the playoffs, I think that's going to be huge. I think they're the second best team in the NFC. We'll get to who I think is the best team in the NFC a little bit later. But, I think the Green Bay Packers are very, very good. When you're talking about the top 5 teams in the NFL, I don't think there's much. I think Denver is a little step below, but I think these top 4 teams that I'm getting into right now, they're all right there. And I could easily make a case for any of them to be number 1 and any of them to be number 4. But number 4, Green Bay Packers.
You know what, ladies and gentlemen? I know you had that nasty, disgusting taste in your mouth the other day after Trey just said that they put them at number 4. But with my number 4 pick is going to be Denver Broncos. Trey talked about a little bit more there. The Denver Broncos has barely won their games in my mind. But as far as that defense has showed up week after week after week after week. They just have it there. Where Keep Talib has been shut down. They just create turnovers. Every time, Trey, I don't know if you saw it, but every time they just create turnovers. When you think they're out of the game, they're back in. That team with Gary Kubiak has still a lot to figure out what to do with Peyton Manning. They're still trying to figure out if Peyton Manning – I think they got it down and Peyton Manning has taken over, and he's actually started calling the play trades. Like I think Peyton Manning said, you know what, I need to start calling my plays. And Kubiak, okay, you're better at that. And they finally got it clicking. They still have to find a running game now. C.J. Anderson has been no-show, and Miller has been stepping up. So, but I have them at number 14 because of that, as Trace touched it before, that defense is just hard to ignore. And Von Miller is strong, isn't he, Trey? He is strong.
So was that sack dance a couple weeks ago against Kansas City on Thursday night.
Yeah, the pelvic thrust.
Exactly.
But they're number 4.
Yeah, very intriguing game for them this weekend at home against Minnesota. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle Adrian Peterson and the boys. We'll talk about our most intriguing games later. Now my number 3 team in the NFL is a team that for some reason you don't have in your top 5, but my number 3 team is the Cincinnati Bengals. 3-0 Cincinnati. Huge win. They've beaten good teams. The first week of the season, the Raiders 2-1, their only loss to Cincinnati.
Yes, good win.
San Diego, that's a team that could possibly, pull it together once they get Antonio Gates back and compete for a playoff spot. And then they beat the Ravens as well on the road. Right now, they hold a 3-game lead and the tiebreaker over Baltimore in that division. Big Ben going down for an injury for a couple weeks for the Steelers. Excuse me. So Cincinnati really has a stranglehold on that division right now. Andy Dalton has looked great. AJ Green has looked great. Jeremy Hill was good the first week of the season. Then Gio Bernard got the bulk of the carries the second week of the season. We'll see them go back and forth between those two guys and just give it to whoever has the hot hand, I think, for the rest of the season. Tyler Eifert, that defense looks very good. They let Steve Smith, ball out on him a little bit this past week.
36-year-old Steve Smith. 36-year-old Steve Smith balled out. Just going to say that right there.
But, Steve Smith is a different kind of 36-year-old.
Yeah, he is.
So, Steve Smith is still, a good player. Baltimore's still a good team, and they bring Baltimore down to 0-3. And if Cincinnati continues to get this confidence, Andy Dalton's has something to prove. They, are a team that's going to get to the playoffs this year, and I think they're finally going to win a playoff game this season in Cincinnati. They are my number 3 team in the league.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I get my number 3 team, I'm going to defend what I just said. The reason why Cincinnati, and this is not normal for me. I 100% agree with Trey, everything he said. The reason why they're not, because I'm used to seeing them do good. I'm used to seeing them go 13-3. I'm used to seeing them go to the playoff and perform well. However, they always do well. They're not showing me something different. Besides Andy Dalton, they're not showing me anything different what they do year after year. When they show me something stellar, I'll put them in my top 5. But we're talking about the most impressive in top 5 and actually going somewhere. Cincinnati won't win a playoff game. They won't get to the Super Bowl. And you remember my words, they won't get to the Super Bowl because that's just the team they play. And Dalton doesn't show up in the playoffs. So, it's number 5. Going on. My number 3, Trey. Who would you say was fabulous? Just say it for me. Let them know. Who's fabulous?
I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save that for me.
Okay. I have number 3 at Arizona Cardinals. Ladies and gentlemen, this defense is good. By the way, Bruce Arians is probably one of my favorite coaches next to John Harbaugh. Bruce Arians is that real deal.
You know where Bruce Arians went to college?
Where you go? Just let him know, Trey. I already know who it is, but go ahead. Just let him know.
Virginia Tech.
Bruce Arians is an awesome coach. He is solid. And Larry Fitzgerald is back, ladies and gentlemen. Larry Fitzgerald is looking stellar right now. Carson Palmer, he's always been a good quarterback, probably USC's only quarterback to actually perform well, but he is always looked good. I've never been a disclaimer on Carson Palmer, except when he was at the Raiders. He couldn't get it together there. However, Carson Palmer is stellar. That team is stellar. Even with Ellington out, they just look so good. They look so good. And ladies and gentlemen, I haven't said it all day, but I honestly think Arizona has a chance to win that division. They just look that good.
They have looked that good. And, now I'm going to get into my number 2 team. And I've gone back and forth on this, but I'm just going to do it. My number 2 team is the New England Patriots. And we'll get to my number 1 team in just a minute.
I knew you number 1. I knew it, but go ahead, Trey.
The New England Patriots, they're great. I'll just say it. The secondary has performed a little better than I thought they would in the first couple of weeks of the season. I thought they were going to win that first game against Pittsburgh. I thought they were going to win this week against Jacksonville, but they obliterated Jacksonville, which is what you have to do if you're a great team. You have to, just destroy these teams that aren't as good. This is what we saw.
Didn't do it.
Exactly. And this is what we saw, when it comes to Baltimore and the Raiders and teams like that. And even, this is why the Packers are low on my totem pole, because of how that close that first game of the season was against Chicago. But, the Patriots are obliterating these teams. The toughest game on their schedule so far was Buffalo. They beat Buffalo and Pittsburgh, who probably both are going to be playoff teams in the AFC. So, Tom Brady is just on another level. He has something to prove. It's, with the appeals process and everything, we have seen that, he's going to play this whole season. Nothing is going to deter that. The Patriots are just, they're there getting LeGarrette Blount back 3 touchdowns this past week, and they have Gronk. So, Brady to Gronk. We talked about earlier, the best quarterback to receiver tandems in the NFL, and you got to look at that. Julian Edelman, superstar season so far. Dion Lewis, nobody knew as far as a running back what he was going to do so far this season. The Patriots are just really, really good, and I actually had them written down at number 1. But just the more I think about it, there is a team that is the best in the league. But Cliff, who's your number 2 teams? I know you got Packers Patriots, and that's what a lot of people are thinking. So I'm gonna know who you've got here at number 2.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll go with your number 5th pick, your number 4th pick,
Number 4,
which was disgusting. It's the Green Bay Packers. Now, I was thinking, I knew who Trey's picks were when we first started. I was like, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? But I'm not going to take his shine away. Talk about the Green Bay Packers. Trey mentioned it before, and he said they struggled against their first game. It's the first game, Trey. And I don't know if anybody watched the team. I had a team surprise pick of the week, and I had Chicago beating Seahawks. And I believe Trey had hit me up in our meeting before we started the show. Tell him what you told me about what the Chicago had to do every first play.
Think that they are. I don't know if they're the first team in history, but the first team in a very long time that punted on every single possession. Every single possession.
Going back, if you watch that game, if you can somehow have the NFL Network package where you can actually rewind and watch the game, Seahawks look terrible. The Bears aren't a bad team. They just have a bad quarterback. They're going to have the number 1 pick. They're going to have a number 1 pick. But the reason why they're going to have the number 1 pick is because they have a bad quarterback. They just have the weapons there. And if also Joffrey can stay healthy, and honestly, Forte does everything on that team. I believe they ran the ball 57 times, if I'm not mistaken. No exaggeration, ladies and gentlemen, 57 times, and they just couldn't get it going because they have a team. However, I digress. Green Bay. There's no way you have them not have them in the top 2, Trey. I know everybody's thinking, but it's a thing of it. Aaron Rodgers has thrown 10 touchdowns and no interceptions. He leads the league in passer rating. He's 135 passer rating. Now I know passer rating can be one thing that no one really pays attention to is debacle. Anybody can have a perfect passer rating. But Aaron Rodgers, who honestly might be my MVP pick, I picked the Green Bay Packers to make it to the Super Bowl against my 0-3 Ravens. But anyway, the Packers are hard to beat in Lambeau. That's the number one. They're number 2. You just said yourself, Trey, they're hard to beat in Lambeau. They're almost virtually undefeated in Lambeau. That's why I have them number 2. My number 1 pick, Trey, because I want to save yours the best for last, because I want to hear this. My number 1 pick, though, is the New England Patriots. They're just that good. Tom Brady is working on a season where he's trying to gain the image back. I'm gonna throw some stats at you, Trey, because I'm a stats guy. Since the beginning of the season, the New England Patriots have been the most winning team for the past 4 years. Now we can see that with the trophies they won. Coming in, they're 3-0, and Tom Brady's already thrown for 1,000 yards. He has thrown 9 touchdowns and interceptions. So you know what? And no interceptions. And you know what? I'm going to shout out my boy, who's a good Patriots fan who listens to the show. Thank you for listening. Devin Soto, I dogged you about once they put more air in the ball, how the ball was going to float up on Tom Brady. He's going to throw it too far. Tom Brady has looked stellar. The Gronk this connection is just there. And you know what, Trey? I'm going to tell everybody later who my fantasy pick is to start picking. And actually, I'm sorry, I changed it in the meeting. But there's one player that on their team that's just looked great, and he's a secret weapon for that team, and he's looking very, very scary. Patriots, good coaching all around the board. You know, I'm big about coaching. Patriots are the number 1 team. And you know what? They might top my AFC pick as far as who I picked to actually go, but Patriots are number 1, without a doubt.
Like I said, I had the Patriots written down as my number one team so far, but I'm just gonna go with it. I'm looking right now, have up on my screen right here. I've got the passing stats for the NFL. Number one, Aaron Rodgers, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Like
Number
I said,
two, exactly. Number two, Tom Brady, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions.
okay, okay.
Number three, actually tied for number two when it comes to touchdowns, has more yards than Aaron Rodgers. Actually, is the quarterback of the best team in the NFL. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, without a doubt, the best team in the NFL right now are the fabulous Arizona Cardinals. The fabulous Arizona Cardinals. Talk to me all you want about who they played, but they are shellacking teams. They look so good. They're doing everything right, getting return touchdowns. In the first 6 minutes of that game last week against the 49ers and Colin Kaepernick, 2 pick six, one by the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, looking great. And say it all you want, Bruce Arians great. Carson Palmer looks awesome. And honestly, that knee injury last year might have been a good thing. His arm looks stronger because he had time to rest it. To be honest, he looks great. Larry Fitzgerald is back when he has a quarterback to throw him the football. And I'll tell you right now, last week Chris Johnson had over 100 yards rushing. The first 3 weeks of the season, I'll give you these stats. Week 1, by over 10 points, 31-19 over the Saints. Week 2, 48-23 over the Bears. Week 3, 47-7 over the San Francisco 49ers.
Those are weak teams, Trey. Those are weak teams, though.
Exactly, but they're killing them. You don't see those kind of, unless you're the Patriots versus the Jags, you don't see those kind of scores in the NFL. There's a reason why every week when I'll talk about my betting pick of the week, but when you look at the betting lines, the lines are usually 7 points or below. You don't see these high kind of spreads. When you're winning by 40 points in the NFL, that is ridiculous. Bruce Arians, the defense we thought might struggle a little bit, losing Todd Bowles to the Jets. Yeah. Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald, Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Peterson, and Chris Johnson, all led by Bruce Arians, the best team in not even just the NFC, not even the NFC West, the best football team in the entire world right now. Get it going, everybody. Tweet me at TDEXPN, hashtag the fabulous Arizona Cardinals.
You know what, Trey? There's a reason why I have them at number 3. I just think that the Green Bay Packers and Patriots are just more of a proven team. But you know what? You've said some interesting points there. That this team has definitely showed. Until they can show me they can beat a good team, and those teams. It's the NFL, ladies. There's no such thing as not a good team unless you're the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Miami Dolphins. There's no such thing as a bad team. Notice I did not say Cleveland Browns, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Miami Dolphins, you are worse than the Cleveland Browns. When you have a team who's putting up those much points in the NFL, this is not college. And they're putting up college numbers, Trey. That's how good they look. And I can't hold it against you, put them number 1. I just don't think they're over the Patriots and Green Bay, but solid number 1. I will give you that.
Just really quickly, just one more thing about the point differential. They've scored 126 points and have only scored 40, and 49 points have been scored against them. That's a ridiculous point spread. And I'll give you real quick, 5 more weeks. They have the perfect bye week, in my opinion, right after week 8. Week 9 is their bye week. So I'll give you their next 5 opponents. Next, against the Rams at home. Then at the Lions, who have not looked good so far. Then at the Steelers with no Big Ben. That's only going to be 3 weeks out, so Ben won't be back by then. Then at home, Monday night game against the Ravens.
Oh, man.
And then at the Browns. So if you look, I'm not going to pick against the Cardinals in any of those games. So possibly going into the bye week, the Arizona Cardinals could very easily be either 7-1 or 8-0 before they take that bye week and then come back the next week, November 15th. Circle it on your calendars right now. Sunday night football game, the Cardinals head to Seattle and CenturyLink Field, which is right there with Lambeau as the toughest place to play in the NFL for a Sunday night game. So you want to circle any game on the schedule as your must-watch this season in the NFL. Arizona at Seattle, November 15th, 8:30 p.m. Put a reminder in your phone right now. That's a game to watch.
It's going to be one for the ages. Honestly, I'm actually, even though I have that team not doing too good, but I'm actually intrigued to see how good that goes.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game. We're intrigued by that, and I'm intrigued by who your fantasy pick of the week is this week, Cliff.
All right, I kind of led into it, going into the secret picks and everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I told Trey this one player. I actually told him I would say I had Tyrod Taylor. I was thinking about saying he's going against a team that's not too good on offense. Go ahead and start him now. I'm pretty sure in most of your leagues he's on the waiver wire. He's not really on your team. Pick him up. But there's another person, Trey, that I want you to actually look at and say, wait a minute, he's not starting on my team. Dion Lewis.
I mentioned him, yeah.
Dion Lewis is looking good for the Patriots. Now, if you're looking for a running back, he's not the one that's going to boast 100 yards. He's not going to give you 100 yards because that's not what the Patriots are. But if you're looking at someone that can combine, and that's what fantasy is about, you want to combine the most, what players can combine the most points. So when you think about running backs can either receiving and they can rush. So they actually, like a wide receiver, it's perfect for them. They actually do great with points. They throw this ball to Dion Lewis most out the flats all the time. He's their safety valve pick. Dion Lewis has been putting up great numbers for the Patriots, and he will pick up great numbers for your fantasy. Ladies and gentlemen, look at Dion Lewis. My dad actually was in my league, dropped him, and I was like, what are you doing? They're actually starting to use him. He's a rookie. Get him in your league. They have no running game at the Patriots, but they definitely passed to him, Trey. Dion Lewis is my fantasy pick of the week.
That's a very, very good one, Dion Lewis. We'll have to see, though, LeGarrette Blount returning, if that takes away some of Dion Lewis's fantasy luster. But he's been great through the first 3 weeks of the season. Now I'm going to give you how to make some money, your betting line of the week. There's some really interesting ones this week. Indianapolis, 9-point favorites at home against Jacksonville. That's a huge line, especially with how Indy has looked so far. Atlanta, 6.5 at home against Houston. I think they should cover there. Carolina, 3-point favorites coming into Tampa Bay. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into my upset special of the week. But one that's very interesting for me is New Orleans. They're a 4.5 point favorite over Dallas at home on Sunday night. We don't know yet if Drew Brees is going to play, but I just wonder about those lines when last week Atlanta, the pick I gave you, they were only a 1.5 point favorite over Dallas. I think I like Dallas in that game, even with Drew Brees, just because of how good that running game looked, and New Orleans defense isn't that great. So that's one that you can look at. But one I'm going to go with is the Oakland Raiders over the Chicago Bears. They're only a 3-point favorite. I think that they cover there. Yes, I'm picking the Raiders, a West team going east for a 1 o'clock game. I'm going against everything that it comes to when I talk about betting money on things. But you know what? The Chicago Bears quarterback is still Jimmy Clausen. His stats from last week, 9 of 17 for 63 yards. That's not just a quarter's worth. That's not just a half's worth. That's his stats for the entire football game. 63 passing yards. They punted on every possession. Khalil Mack and Justin Tucker are going to get after him. So, and I think Chicago's the worst team in the league. So the Raiders to cover for the 3 points there. Now, those are our specialty picks of the week. Both of them look good. I'm telling you, take them to the bank on both of them. But now something that we're going to do, I know College Game Day, one of the greatest football pregame shows, and every Saturday morning, you got to wake up at 9 o'clock to watch that. And over the past couple of years, they've introduced something that is one of the greatest things on the show, and that is every week they have a guest picker to come on and pick against Lee Corso and the guys. And we're going to do that in just a minute here on the TD Experience. We're going to pick the games, pick the most intriguing games with a guest picker of the week. Cliff, you know more about this guy than I do, so tell everybody a little bit about who's going to be our guest picker of the week.
Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman here is a Baltimore fan. He will say that, but I swear he is non-biased for me. He's more as far as a football fan. I've known this guy since we were little playing Pee Wee football, Trey. So I would like to introduce my buddy, Marvin Moore. Marvin Moore, welcome to the show. All right, Trey, did you?
I'm sending it right now.
All right.
Oh, wait.
Are you sending like the call?
I just sent it.
I've been texting him and saying stand by, stand by, stand by. He's been responding for the most part. No, we haven't talked about on the show. We haven't talked about Julio Jones. Come on, MVP.
Ridiculous.
We should have an MVP next week. We should start talking about MVPs.
Okay, we can do that next week. I just sent the invite, so hopefully it goes through. We just got to get through these a little quickly because I got to get ready because I got to leave by 11.
I know.
So.
Is he? You sent it? Is it like sending? Okay. Shit. For some reason, my stuff is saying. How long is it? We're gonna give him to 10:35. He doesn't answer. We can go find him.
Okay.
Damn, he had touched on the Dean Pease thing better than I could. I when he wasn't on the show, and then he was talking about like Buffalo to me about it, and we were talking about Tyrod Taylor, and he had some interesting stuff to say. But god damn, we gotta. I did tell him this morning to be ready at 9, but we kind of ran a little late. So.
Did you text him to see if he got it or?
My texts aren't going through. Hey, is there any way I can hang up and try to call him and try to put it back again?
I can try. Hopefully, I'll be able to add you back in.
All right, so I'm gonna call him and then you send it, and I'm gonna text you and you send everything out, okay?
Okay.
And like I said, if it doesn't work about 10:35, we'll just go up on Adam.
Okay.
All right, later. All right, let's see. Hang up this call. And this call right here.
Hello. Yeah. I gotta leave at 11. I mean that's fine. We'll just have to rush through it though. Can't be go any like super wordy or anything. Okay. Well, I was gonna do that with him too. So okay. Yeah, I'll start getting US now. Okay.
Hey, I think Marv. Hey, Marv, you on?
Yo,
Hey, my man Marv.
I
Is
thought you
your
said
video?
y'all was doing it at 9.
No, we've already started recording. Like, so we can edit it. So we added you
Mm.
on. We already. So basically, how I introduced you, Trey came in and said, Trey, Cliff, I know you have somebody there. Pretty much, I said, oh, this is somebody I've known that knows football. He's a Ravens fan, but he knows football. But we played Pee Wee football together. We didn't play Pee Wee football. We played like movable football. But anyway,
Yeah.
and I said, here's Marvin Moore. So the way Trey is going to edit it, he's going to edit it like this time gap. So basically, what I said was, someone is someone I know who's actually introduced me to football. My man Marvin Moore. What's up? So and you just talk like that.
All right.
All right. So basically, what we're gonna have here, this is Trey. This is the show he started and everything. So, do you see him?
Hold on. Let me pull it back up. Like I
'Cause
saw a couch. I see Trey.
All right. We see you too. We see you
Yeah, we
too.
see you too.
All right. All right. So basically, how we're gonna do it is basically we have picks. You pick the games. We're gonna have our most interesting picks of the week so far, but we're going to talk about Trey. Take over on that
Yeah.
part.
So we're just gonna pick. Each of us are gonna pick what's the which game. If you only could watch one game this whole weekend, what's the most interesting game of the week? And then we're just gonna go into the games and just pick winners on all of them.
Um, as far as notes, my most interesting game is Baltimore Pittsburgh because of the rivalry. Trey has Buffalo Giants. Are
Hmm.
you different with any of those at all?
Well, I mean, of course, the Baltimore Pittsburgh game is important because you got the Ravens 0-3, and then you got the Steelers. Big Ben just went down,
Right,
so now it's
exactly.
like their season is up in air. You're dependent on Mike Vick, this
Right,
veteran that they just picked up during what the third week of the preseason, second week or so.
right, exactly. Smart. See, I told you he knows his football.
Yeah.
Do you have a pick besides the Ravens, or you want to stick with me with the Baltimore Ravens? Because you gotta get
I'm
going here
actually
soon.
I'm going through. Well, I was trying to pull it up on my phone, but it crashed on Hangout, so I'm using my other phone to pull up the rest of the games of the week
I
that the
got you. I
rookie
got
missed
you.
time on.
I got you. That's fine. I got Thursday night game, Baltimore Pittsburgh. I got Sunday night game, New Jets in Miami. Then I got a Houston, Atlanta, Giants in Buffalo, Oakland and Chicago, Kansas City and Cincinnati, Jacksonville and Indy, Carolina and Tampa Bay, Philly versus Washington, Cleveland versus San Diego, Steelers at Arizona, Minnesota at Denver, Green Bay at San Fran, Dallas against New Orleans,
I
and
got it.
Detroit.
Lions and Seahawks.
Do you have Lions and Seahawks?
No, I'm looking at it. I'm
Oh
I'm
yeah.
looking at it
All right.
right
Oh
now.
yeah, that's the
Okay.
Monday
All
night
right. All
game.
right. All right.
Yeah.
Monday night game. All right. So don't worry about notes because sometimes we just wing it. So Trey's gonna do what we left. Trey, how you gonna
I'm
enter
just gonna say
introduce?
I'll just get it going. If you guys are ready, I can start it off. I got
Marvin, I'm ready. You ready, Mar?
I'm I'm ready.
All
okay.
right, bet.
All right, so we're gonna get right into it. Marvin Moore, our guest picker of the week. First thing we're gonna get into is what the most intriguing game of the week is. If you only had to watch one game, you could only watch one game this entire week. What is it gonna be? Cliff, I'll start with you. Then we'll go to Marvin. Then we'll circle back around to me.
All right, the game of the week to me, Trey, and I've been eyeing it, and it's not because I'm the Baltimore fan, but I'm gonna talk about the best rivalry in football. Ladies and gentlemen, this is hard knock football. If you want to talk about the originals of the hard hitters, the Baltimore Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers bring it. Now, I might sound like a homer. I might sound like somebody that's probably been in it, but ladies and gentlemen, if you think about it, now we're not gonna talk about the Bears and Packers because they originated this rivalry. We're talking about players taking off, icing themselves, hurt. illegal hits, legal hits. We don't know. But Baltimore-Pittsburgh is my game of the week because it's the best rivalry in football, Trey. Trey and Marv, I honestly can sit here and say that when you watch this game, they are close games. They are fighting games. Baltimore is hungry. We haven't won a game, ladies and gentlemen. We have not actually got a win yet. So we're the hungry dogs in this fight. Pittsburgh wants to find their identity with a Michael Vick. So now they're trying to get in on. My game of the week is the best game of the week ever, Baltimore Ravens. What's up? Baltimore Ravens in Pittsburgh. I apologize about that. Let's go.
Marvin?
I'm going to have to agree with Cliff as far as the Ravens-Steelers game, but not more so because of the rivalry, but like on the flip side, you got the Ravens, once again, 0-3, and Cliff kind of stole my point, but I'm going to say it again. The Steelers, they're dependent on Michael Vick now. This is a veteran guy who didn't have a job until the middle of the preseason. So it's like, we all love the Michael Vick of old, but now you want to see if he still has that flashiness of the old Vic, of the guy who ran between two defenders and made them hit each other. The guy who dove from the 5-yard line and knee barely missed the ground for the touchdown,
Panthers and Falcons. Okay, I see you, Mark.
So you got, it's big on both ends. It's a revival of the Ravens season and a continuance of the Steelers season. Like, of course, the Ravens, you want to win this game. You have to win this game.
Yep.
As an organization, and like you said, just not being a fan, as an organization, any team that's 0-3, the Bears are 0-3 right now. They have to win their game. Because 0-3 is tough to come back from, but 0-4, you might as well. The season is a wash.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's like I said earlier in the show. Pittsburgh, you talk about a rivalry game, it doesn't get much bigger than this. Revenge last season, Baltimore beating Pittsburgh in the playoffs. Pittsburgh can effectively end Baltimore's season tonight at home. So that's a very intriguing game. But I'm going to go to a game on Sunday, that an in-state rivalry of sorts. You don't really see these teams play each other too much, but I'm going to go with the Giants heading to Buffalo to play the Bills. The Giants getting their first win of the season last week on Thursday night against the Redskins. They're a team that's 1-2, but could very easily be 3-0, losing two close games the first 2 weeks of the season against Dallas and against Atlanta. Buffalo looking great last week, rebounding from that loss to New England in week 2, demolishing the Dolphins. Tyrod Taylor going up against Eli Manning, my two fantasy quarterbacks. I'm starting Tyrod this week. Victor Cruz could finally be returning for the Giants. Went down all last season, injured his calf in preseason. So Victor Cruz could finally be back, and we could finally see Victor Cruz and Odell Beckham on the field at the same time against that Buffalo defense. The Giants looking for a big win on the road. The Giants and Buffalo is my most intriguing game of the week. But now we're going to get into these picking games, and the first game of the week, we're going to start with a Thursday night game, Baltimore-Pittsburgh. Cliff, I'll go to you first.
All right, well, you know what? We're 0-4. I am a homer, ladies and gentlemen. I do cheer for my home team. I think that with that devastating loss at home against Cincinnati and with this hurt team that has a plan for the Michael Vick, and we actually have played against good against mobile quarterbacks. I got the Baltimore's taking this, Trey. I think the Baltimore Ravens will finally play with a point. We actually have Jason Badman coming and playing this week. So I have the Baltimore Ravens actually winning at Pittsburgh.
Marvin?
Well, just like you said, Trey, how 1-2 could easily be 3-0. 0-3 could easily be 3-0. You got Ravens losing one-score games at the end of every game. I feel like they pull it out this week. They get their defense together because Dean Pease is on the hot seat as much as anybody else in the league. You gotta plan it right. If you're blitzing, you gotta cover the guys that's going to go short. You can't get beat. That's it, and that's all. You come with a solid game plan and execute. Execution is the most important thing about football because if you put the men in the right place, they got to do that part.
Yeah,
so I'm going with Baltimore.
I mean, Baltimore, their backs are against the wall. But I'm going to go with Pittsburgh in this. I think Baltimore goes to 0-4. And I said it earlier in the show as well. I think if you could Michael Vick got signed in the preseason, but honestly, I don't think you can really name a backup quarterback in the league that I'd rather have step in for me than Mike Vick. He's not the Michael Vick of old, but he's still better than when you've got Luke McCown in New Orleans and Brandon Weeden in Dallas. And the weapons on that team are just ridiculous with Le'Veon Bell and with Antonio Brown. So that offense is one of the best in the league. I think Pittsburgh gets it done in a very close rivalry game on Thursday night. Pittsburgh beats Baltimore. Now we're going to get into the Sunday night games, and we're going to take a trip across the pond to London. 9:30 a.m. You can get up and watch football this weekend.
Yes, I love it.
The Jets and the Dolphins in London. Who do you got, Cliff?
Easily. I said it through the show, Dolphins are looking horrible. Jets have this team that could be great. I got the Jets hands down in London.
Marvin?
I'm going to have to go with the Jets. You got the number 4 D in the league right now. And the Dolphins looked pretty bad last week.
Yeah. Dolphins did look really bad. I'm going to make it unanimous there. I think the Jets and that defense win a low-scoring game in London. Jets beat the Dolphins, go to 3-1. Now we're going to go to a battle for first place in the AFC South. The 1-2 Jacksonville Jaguars at the Indianapolis Colts. Cliff?
No surprise picks this week. Like I said on the last week's show, I think Colts are in a place where they're actually building their season back up. With a barely scratched win in Tennessee, I just said that they're my most they're unimpressive, but I do have Andrew Luck actually going in destroying Jacksonville. There's no chance.
Marvin?
It's a toss-up, man, because the Colts have been playing. The Colts have played worse than the Ravens. They got one good drive to come back and one holdout on the 2-point conversion, saving them from being 0-3.
Ooh.
You know, that one play, they blew it up, but it's one play. It's like you can't rely on it, but historically speaking, I gotta go with Indy.
I'm going with Indy as well. I picked them to win the Super Bowl at the end of the season. If you're going to lose to Jacksonville at home, that ends my pick right there. I think Indy. I think Andrew Luck starts to turn it around. They get more on the right track. They beat Jacksonville and go to 2-2 on the season. Now we're going to get into my most intriguing game of the week, the Giants at Buffalo. I'll go first on this one. I'm basically, because it's at home and Buffalo got their biggest win of the season last season. They looked great against Indy, but they looked even better in a division rivalry game at Miami last week. I think Tyrod Taylor and the boys in that defense, their defense is just a little bit better, and I think that they have the speed on offense to score with the Giants. So I think Buffalo gets a win at home. Marvin?
Go ahead.
I feel Buffalo is going to win because, you got two bottom-feeding defenses in this game, ranked 30th and 31st. But Buffalo has a number 1 rushing offense. And everybody knows the run opens up the pass. So Tyrod Taylor is going to look like a superhero this week again. So Buffalo's my pick.
I'll be unanimous as well. Buffalo is one of my teams I got going this week. I got Buffalo in this one, hands down.
Now we're going to go to a game that I will actually be in attendance at this Sunday. Mike Allstott's Ring of Honor game. The 3-0 Carolina Panthers heading to Tampa to take on the Bucs. Marvin, I'll start with you this time.
Well, you can't go against Heat. You can't go against the Heat right now. Excuse me. And the Panthers are hot. They open up the year, weak schedule or not, they're 3-0. The Bucs look terrible. They look terrible, opponent terrible. So I'm gonna have to go Carolina. Cam Newton, 2 Superman poses this week.
You know what, Trey? I'm just jumping in here and attack this one easily. Of course, Carolina. Carolina has just looked hot. The 3-0. We're still talking about the front end zone flip with Cam Newton into the game. It's just a hot team to the hot hand. Gotta go with the hot hand when the table's hot, Trey. Carolina Panthers destroyed Tampa Bay.
Upset special of the week. Carolina.
Oh, he's a homer.
Carolina barely beat New Orleans last week with Luke McCown, and Tampa should have won that game if Kyle Brinza doesn't miss 2 field goals and an extra point. This could be a battle for first place in the NFC South.
Wow.
But the Bucs lose a close game against Houston. They're getting more confidence. Mike Evans had over 100 yards receiving last week. He's not going to have those drops that he had again. A very close game and a very low-scoring game. I think Tampa Bay wins, and Kyle Brinza gets redemption. Field goal at the buzzer, 17-16, Tampa Bay.
Wow.
Now we're going to go on to Philly and Washington, an NFC East rivalry matchup right there. This is one of the toughest games of the week to pick. Can Philly keep it going, or are the Redskins going to look like the team they look like against the Rams instead of the team that they looked like last week against the Giants? I just don't believe in Sam Bradford at this point. So, you know what? I'm going to go with the Redskins. But I think this is honestly, you're just picking who's going to lose, not really who's going to win.
That sounds about right because I feel the same way. The Eagles, Chip Kelly, it's like, he came in with a bang, but just like every new scheme in the NFL, it gets figured out, and you got to keep planning, and his run is up. It's like you pick up all these people, it's not doing anything. It's like I feel like they got DeMarco Murray just to take it from Dallas because they haven't used him effectively enough, especially for what they're paying him. So I'm just going with I'm picking the Eagles to lose opposed to the Redskins winning.
You know what? I have my dad, who's an ultimate homer, who's actually listened to the show. He's advocates right behind me. He's throwing up the fist, ladies and gentlemen. Come back over my house. I tell him right now that I have Washington actually winning this game. I don't think Washington has played bad over the few weeks. I just they had bad offensive play calls. If you watch it the week before, this loss they had, that running game is strong. It's the number one running game in the league. I feel like they find that, they stick to it. I think Philadelphia, even though I'm a big Philly guy, I believe in Chip Kelly. I think Chip Kelly has this turnaround and turn this whole season around. However, actually going into Washington, I think Washington goes back to the running game. Washington comes up winning at home.
That's another unanimous one right there, and I think this next one's going to be unanimous as well. We're going to do a little bit of rapid fire here. I already talked about it in my betting pick of the week. I got Oakland over Chicago. Chicago's just the worst team in the league. Oakland wins.
Yep.
Oh, Oakland. Oakland hands down. There's no way.
Exactly. So now we're going to go into a game that actually is kind of intriguing. Houston and J.J. Watt got their first win last week against the Bucs. They head to Atlanta to face the Falcons. I don't think Houston can score with Atlanta. The defense is good, but Julio Jones is just putting up ridiculous numbers. Julio Jones right there with Antonio Brown as the best receiver in the NFL through 3 weeks. Atlanta beats Houston, goes to 4-0.
Go ahead, Mark. I'm going to let you take that one.
I have Atlanta winning. They're clicking on offense right now. Number 2 passing ranked offense in the league through 3 weeks. And Houston, they just still rebuilding. Like they had the glory years ago, but they're another team that's getting the short end of the stick like the Bears. The Bears lost their top receiver. You lose your quarterback. Same thing with Houston. They didn't lose a quarterback, but it's like you don't really have one.
Right.
And then you lose your top receiver. The only thing they got going is J.J. Watt. And J.J. Watt can't literally do everything.
Right. And I almost, you're right, almost. Like Marvin said, with Aaron Foster going down, it pretty much hurts that whole team. That's their, veteran player that they can all throw who's going to. With him still being out, get to seeing him. I just don't know. Atlanta's hot right now. I hate to say that I want to pick Matt Ryan and the boys, but Trey, you said battling for first place. I think we're talking about Atlanta and Carolina battling for first place in that division. So unfortunately, you're sadly mistaken that Tampa Bay can recover. I'm actually going to say Atlanta over Houston, easily, hands down.
A lot of unanimous picks this week. We're going Kansas City and Cincinnati right here. I think Kansas City coming off a tough loss in Green Bay, going to Cincinnati. Cincinnati was my number 3 team in the league. Cincinnati wins. There it goes to 4-0.
Cincinnati home off of a big win against the Ravens. Kansas City, who's actually still trying to get it together from how they lost with Denver. I have Cincinnati winning this game at home.
I don't believe in the Bengals. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. You got one of the best top running backs in the league in Jamal Charles. The Ravens showed the blueprint on how to beat the Bengals. They slept on an 80-yard touchdown play to A.J. Green.
Which is like almost a recap of last season.
The same thing. Like A.J. Green is the Raven killer. So I don't believe in Cincinnati. They have not given me anything over these years for me to believe in them. They start hot. They're going to finish. They'll finish 11-5, 10-6 maybe. I don't believe in them this week. I feel Kansas City gets back on track this week. I feel like Jeremy Macklin catches 2 touchdowns. Jamal Charles may give you 2 more touchdowns.
Oh,
That's my pick.
That's a bold pick, picking a Kansas City receiver to get 2 touchdowns in a week. Now we're going.
He got one last week. Finally.
Now we're going Cleveland and San Diego. That's an interesting game right there. Josh McCown's still the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and as long as Josh McCown starts for Cleveland, I will never pick them. San Diego wins.
We really didn't have to do this one at all.
Yeah.
Honestly, San Diego.
Honestly, #honestly San Diego. Now we're going to go Green Bay and San Francisco. A couple years ago, this was one of the marquee games of the season. Yeah. Not anymore with San Francisco falling off. Green Bay goes to 4-0. San Francisco loses again. Guys, do we even need to pick this one? I think this one's a pretty unanimous one right there.
Yeah, same for me. There's no way.
You can have Ravens see. You can want to be Ravens, but you can't be Ravens.
Exactly, they can't be because San Francisco actually has a win this season. Now on to St. Louis and Arizona. The fabulous Arizona Cardinals go to 4-0, beat the St. Louis Rams.
St. Louis has looked terrible. I just don't understand. What's going on there. They had a team that we talked about that's going to be contending, but I'm going to have to do something that I'm not used to doing. I'm going to have to agree. Arizona is just a hot team. Bruce Arians and that team. And like Trey likes to say, hashtag the fabulous Arizona Cardinals, hands down. At home, oh, of course, Arizona.
You got to go with Arizona. They won 11 games on a third-string quarterback last year.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine the possibilities if they stay healthy this year. Larry Fitzgerald looked like it was 8 years ago when he was just jumping on everybody catching the ball last week, man. Like, you can't go against that. They're hot. They're going to continue to be hot. And with Seattle playing mediocre and the Rams playing mediocre, that division is theirs to take, especially with the 49ers.
Now we're going to go into a game that's very intriguing. We're going to get through these last 3 games really quickly. Not going to keep too much more of Marvin's time. We're going to go Minnesota at Denver. That's an extremely intriguing game. 2-1 going at 3-0. Minnesota's looked better these past 2 weeks of the season. We'll see how Denver's defense can hold up against Adrian Peterson. But I think they can put all of that defense onto Adrian Peterson simply because Teddy Bridgewater has not been getting it done. Denver goes to 4-0 as well. And, I think all the 3-0 teams win this week.
Marv, go ahead. I'm let you take that one.
It's a tough call. You got Peyton. It's like Peyton is just not Peyton.
Yeah.
But Denver's bolstering the number 1 defense right now.
Yeah.
You can't go against defense. Defense wins championships. So I got Denver.
Surprise pick of the week. I got Minnesota. Adrian Peterson looking hot. Teddy Bridgewater clicking on every cylinder. Minnesota goes in for the win. Surprise pick of the week. What's up?
The thing about that is, it's like, now I get, the year AP rushed for 2,000 yards. He was literally their only option. They haven't gotten much better, and now once again you're going against the top defense in the league. It's through 3 weeks, but it's still the number 1 defense.
Okay.
Yeah, Denver's defense looks awesome. Now we're going to go Dallas and New Orleans. That's an interesting game there on Sunday night. New Orleans at home. Started the season 0-3. They need this one. It's a must-win. Still don't know if Drew Brees is going to play, but New Orleans lost with Drew Brees at home against Tampa. Dallas is a better team on the road than they are at home. I think Joseph Randle runs all over New Orleans. Dallas wins that.
I got Dallas winning this one as well. With no Drew Brees, yes, Dallas wins. If Drew Brees comes, then it's maybe a different story, but there's no way they can click with Macau.
The battle of the backups. You gotta give it to the better team. I gotta go Dallas. Saints haven't shown me anything for me to want to pick them and be like, they can do it. No.
Yeah. Now we're going to get into a Monday night game, a team that lost, a big game for them last week, Detroit against Seattle, who forced Chicago to punt on every single possession. Detroit and Matt Stafford, that offense is a lot better than Chicago's, but Seattle at home against an 0-3 team, Seattle is not going to lose. Seattle wins, gets back to 500.
Cam Chancellor coming back big for them. Even though they played a horrible game in Chicago, I didn't think that they did well. Even though they blew them out 24-0, but if you actually watch the game, it did not look all that impressive against a team that hasn't won a game with a backup quarterback. But however, even though I said Seahawks are going to make it to the playoffs, Seahawks does get this win. They go 2-2, even score. Marv?
Yeah, with the Lions winning that matchup they actually did play in 2012, I feel like the Seahawks are on a better track to win this game than the Lions are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for this week on the TD Experience. You know, it's intriguing week of games, week 4 here in the NFL. Next week, I'll give you my impressions of Jameis Winston and the whole new-look Buccaneers. I'll be in Raymond James Stadium for that one.
Oh yeah, you're going to be there.
Yes, I'm going to be in the stadium.
You can tell us how trash looks in person.
Yes, I will get the stench and bring it back to you. But that's going to be it for Cliff, for Marvin. I am TD himself, Trey Downey. It's been a great week. We will see you next week on TD Experience.
Thanks for joining us, Marvin. Appreciate it, brother.
No problem, fellas. No problem.